Hello, everyone, and welcome to issue 2 of Dive Into the Longbox podcast here on Patreon. There's actually an update with this now. You used to get this at the $5 tier, but I said, you know what? I don't like that. I don't like when comic books are overpriced. I don't like when movies are overpriced. So guess what? We are in the $2 tier. $2. That is cheaper than a comic book a month to listen to Dive Into the Longbox. And I mostly did that because I want more people to listen to this because I love doing this show so much. As you can hear, it may sound a little different. We are doing a live recording right now. With my brother, known as Opie, also known as Drew, which you might hear me say a lot in this.
Yeah.
But he is joining us here. He was supposed to come on a future episode, but currently Ajax is out of commission with his microphone. So a little hard to record a podcast if you don't have a microphone. So we have some step-ins the next couple months. If he's out for some time, you might even hear Drew again on the future episode coming up soon. We will get that straightened out. But Drew, how you doing, buddy?
Doing all right.
As you, if you guys have us on social media.
I'm literally sitting next to long boxes.
Yes.
It's part of a set.
So the cool thing is, Drew and I, Drew's been putting up a lot more stuff than me, but we have an art page on Instagram, Nerd Bros Art on Instagram. You can find us there. He posts a bunch of art in terms of wrestling.
A lot of wrestling.
I
swear we're branching out soon now. I'm doing something, or a couple things right now that
and
a little different. That's
why if you see the comic book that if you have Patreon, you can read our Nerd Bros comics, first ever comic book, The Hunt, which is out on Patreon for $2. You can read that at your leisure. But one of the reasons why I'm into comic books, besides my father, is because of this man here.
You're welcome.
So, so without them two, we wouldn't have this show at all. And I don't know. Have you been reading anything recently, comic-wise?
No, I've taken a little break. I got burned by a lot of comic books. A lot of the newer stuff that came out, and when I started getting into a bunch of the new sets and series, a lot of these companies like to reset and relaunch, and something that you've dove into the last year to 5 years or 10 years gets reset, and it means nothing. So you really wasted your time. So I really haven't read anything ever since Rebirth on DC. That's the good thing about comics. You can always go back to the old stuff if you enjoyed it.
And they're now in a different arc now, because we had New 52, we had Rebirth. Now they're in Dawn of DC, which is their brand new one, which I think is probably the best one since New 52. And one of my polls this week is actually...
And I'm diehard New 52. I thought that was a great set. I think every title was fun and exciting. Red Hood and the Outlaws was one of my favorite ones, and it really let Red Hood breathe a little bit and let him have fun. Gave a whole new side of Bizarro that nobody expected to see, and it made Artemis a pretty fun star, and I think they can really do something with that, but it all depends on what the studios say, I guess.
Well, I did find a bunch of your books. I was trying to pull them before this, but I found a bunch of your books that I don't even think you remember. It's the blank covers you drew on.
Oh, yeah.
I found all of them there of like Wonder Woman and Batman doing the Batman ears and stuff. Or
Superman and Wonder Woman mocking Batman.
Yep. So I found that one. I found your Martian Manhunter cover, which looks badass. I found the Daniel Bryan Spider-Man cover.
Oh, yeah.
You drew Bryan Danielson on it doing the yes chants. But there were some other blank covers in there you haven't touched.
Yeah, because that
was
when I was on like my blank fix, and I told myself, man, I'm just gonna get a bunch of covers, and get a bunch of markers, and I'm gonna just dive into that, do commissions and all that. Then I realized Copic markers were like $80 per marker or something.
And then like those art pens are like expensive.
I'm just gonna get a tablet.
So that's the thing. I actually got like a notepad and like pens. I was like, oh, let me dabble in some physical stuff, and then I've
done that like 10 times over the last 10 years.
I just love digital way too much.
Digital is so much easier. You mess up. I've started and scrapped and started a completely different drawing on one page so many times instead of just wasting materials.
Well, even as recent as I'm working on a new comic book now, I drew with this guy right here, this little character I got on our desk here. I got an action figure of him. My guy Ultimo coming soon. I drew a whole page. I drew a whole page for it, and then as soon as I drew it, I was like, I fucking hate this. So I just like erased it all and redid it to what I have now, and I love it much better. But
I forget what was the drawing that I dove into. I got like halfway through it. I don't know if it was a wrestler. Oh man, who was it? I'm sorry. Can I curse on this?
Oh yeah,
Patreon. Right?
Oh yeah, we're on Patreon.
Oh man,
I don't know. Let me talk to the
was.
producers. Yeah, you can curse.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Chris Jericho said it's fine over there on the shelf. Oh man, what was it? I forget what it was, but yeah, I got like a quarter of the way through it, and I was like, I'm not feeling it. Scrapped it. So I couldn't get the face, or like I kept looking back and forth, and I was like, nope, never mind. And this is gone.
Well, speaking of art, because real quick, I'm gonna go through
Segue.
what I've been reading the past month. I've read a lot this month. I just handpicked some things that I've kind of my favorites. This is one I think you would love. It's Dawn of DC, Superman's first series with Dawn of DC, not Action Comics. It's Superman #1. #2 just came out recently. It is some of the best Superman storytelling I've ever seen. This is just a guy who loves Superman. He grew up on the Superman cartoon, the comic books, and he got like the okay from DC to use some of the villains from the cartoon that were exclusive to the cartoon in the comics. So now they're in. Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah. The art in it, because we're talking about art, is some of the most beautiful art you've ever seen in your life.
The cover is really basic, but I love basic.
So, and that's a variant cover.
Really cool.
The official cover is Superman flying in the sky of Metropolis, and on the buildings are each character. It's Lois on a planet, Jimmy Olsen on a building, not planet, on a building. But it just every page is beautiful. There's like no ads in this. It's like 30 pages of straight storytelling.
Yeah.
And it captures Superman perfectly.
Is this the same artist that did Star Wars?
It may be. It may be. But look, even the logo in the opening one, the opening page, if you go back, it's the classic, if you go all the way back to
yeah, I just saw that.
It's the classic Superman movie logo, which is like amazing.
Yeah.
It's the most beautiful Superman logo. I think it's my favorite. But
there's some things you just don't change.
Yeah, and that's what this story is. It's a very simple Superman story of Superman just being Superman, but he can hear Lex Luthor's talking to him from prison, but he can hear him talking to him. And Lex knows he can hear him, so he's trying to get in Superman's head. Yeah, Livewire, that's one of the ones he got the rights to put in the book.
I remember Livewire from Smallville.
Yeah, so like I love this book. #2 was even better than #1, but everyone was raving about this #1, so I was like, let me check it out. And once I got it, man.
Oh, Scott Campbell.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's just every page is just like there's no laziness on any page. And look, it's like he also captures the All-Star Superman of Clark being all hunched over, which you see in All-Star Superman.
Posture,
yeah, to not look like Superman. But he wears headphones so he doesn't hear people, to try to zone out all the, kind of like in Smallville where like he hears or in the movies where he hears everything and it's too much, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Because Superman just wants to help everyone. He has to
Jamal
wear
Campbell, sorry.
And he has to wear headphones at work because he just wants to help everyone, but he knows he can't. But he doesn't want to hear them calling out for him because it's too much, and he feels horrible about it. But I'm like, dude, that is Superman.
So they almost took like a autism route to it, where
basically, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and Lex, because Lex is in jail, he signed over the rights of LexCorp to Superman.
How much would it suck though if you need help during Superman's off hours?
I know, right? But yeah, Lex signs over LexCorp to Superman, and he's like, I don't want this. Like, this isn't me. Like, I'm not a business guy. And that chick is basically like, well, this is your business now, so you run it how you want.
It's supposed to be what's her face? The same.
It's a.
Oh yeah, Mercy Graves.
Yep. Lex's assistant. But this story is phenomenal. I highly recommend picking this up. You can still get it at shops. Like, just look at that shot right there. You can't see because you're on audio, but there's a shot of him just shooting out of the building because it's too much for him to handle, and he just needs to leave because there's too much going on. All this is being thrown at him, and he's like, "This isn't what I want. This isn't who I am."
It's very classic Superman.
Yeah, and I think that's why this already sold. I wish I had the number, but it sold so many copies.
Is this supposed to be Jor-El? Or Lex as Jor-El?
Lex as Jor-El, yeah. Because they even say there, they go, they say Lex knows you had a hologram of your father at that you would speak to. Yeah. But of course, you see like Lex there in prison and stuff, and he's like, you see him talking, and Superman's like responding.
Check this out.
It's awesome. It's amazing. Another
weird,
thing,
because Jamal Campbell and Scott Campbell seem to have very similar art styles. It's cool though. I like it.
Yeah. Another thing I've been reading, which I think you would like also, it's from Image. You'll notice a trend with me.
Yeah.
I read a lot of Image recently because I think them and I read some Marvel too. I'm reading the Rogue and Gambit series. I'm still on the fence about it. The recent issue, Gambit the building on fire to try to get away from Black Panther. It was a little weird, but I try to read a lot of Image stuff just because they catch my attention more. I've been reading this. It's called Local Man.
Yeah.
It is a story, real quick, in layman's terms. It is a story about a former hero he can't be the hero he was before, or he will go to jail because the team that had him is not giving him basically the rights to his own character.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know. But we don't know why. We don't know what happened that exiled him from the team.
So it's almost like if somebody from The Boys tried to branch out.
Basically,
like, no, you can't do it.
But what's cool about the book is that it's basically poking fun at every Image comic from back in the day. So the front of it's the regular cover, but the back of it's like a 90s Image comic. But what's real cool, so you read through here, obviously it's a regular comic book like you see nowadays, but the one where you flip it, it is a straight 90s Image comic book, but it also gives you story points from the past. So this guy here is this
that guy.
Yeah, so you figure out the missions he was on, the stories he had with his team, but it's all very corny, over-the-top Image on one side.
Are they related? Like, if you read the throwback story first, do they have callbacks in the second story?
So I still don't know how exactly to read these. I read the main story first, and then I read the fun issue on the back. But I found out in issue 2, they do a callback to the back issue.
So you might want to read the 90s version first and then go back to the...
So the main one had a callback to this one.
Spoilers, so somebody's dead.
Yeah. So issue 2 had a callback to this issue 1.
Yeah.
So as long as you read both for the next issue, you're fine. Even if you read it, I'm guessing in whichever order, whatever your question is, it's going to get answered either way. It's not like you have to wait. But I don't know. I just like that it was... I'm a big... We talked about on the last Dive into the Long Box. I love 90s comics. I love Image. I love all that stuff. And this is just poking fun at all the ridiculousness of Image, of how the stories weren't good.
The back is very Rob Liefeld.
Yep. And issue 2 is the same exact thing. But just a fun comic to read.
Local Man.
Yeah, Local Man. Number 1 and 2 are out. And lastly, the last thing here one of the last things I've been reading, Immortal Sergeant. So... This piqued my interest. It is about a police officer who talks like our father, who's a police officer. But the story is Tim and his son. His son's joining him on some adventure. We don't know what it is. There's a mystery.
Yeah.
Don't know what it is. But the dad is very old school 90s on the block cop. And the son is a current age, like...
Can't do that.
Feminist guy who loves his wife and his daughter and... doesn't want to get in anyone's way. His dad makes some very messed up jokes.
So the son is woke.
Basically, and the dad is what
Not
you would
woke.
think of a 90s cop. Or
Snoozing.
Yeah. It's in the art style. If you look at it, what you get on the cover is what you get inside. It is like...
Yeah, very, again, basic but cool.
Yeah, all black and white. No colors. This piqued my interest because of the art, and I stayed for the story.
It's funny. The first, 4 pages are just sound effects.
Yes, and the artist was great because I think it's
Golf.
issue 3, he talks about how he wanted the car to look like him. So if you look at the front of his car, it looks like it has a mustache and teeth like him,
Yeah.
which is hilarious.
Like the old grills.
Yeah. So that was one I just wanted to bring up on here because I just thought it was a cool comic. I've been reading a lot of stuff that's big on art, and because obviously we're artists, so we love and adore good art.
Shot birds.
Yeah.
That's just the title card.
I'm reading this and I'm like, this could be a Netflix show.
Yeah.
Like in this animation style, I'll watch this, man. I'll watch this in a heartbeat.
There's only one line in the first 10 pages here. Golf.
Yeah.
And then he shoots some birds. It was like title card.
Oh man. But yeah, that's just a fun little read for people. For people who are fans of that. It's a very, let's see, these are the comics I'm reading now. It's like,
this is very let's say if they went up to Rob McElhaney and Charlie Day and were like, hey, we have this comic book that we want to adapt. I'm like, yeah, sure, let's take a look at it. This would be the one.
But yeah, these are the books I'm reading now. Even if you look at my first finished comic book, it's not a superhero book. It's a vampire book, but it's all talking. Oh, yeah. I love stuff like story based books. It doesn't have to be like this one. Not a lot of action, but it's a great story. Yeah. And the last thing, these are my last 2 things.
So you got the second one? Local
yes. We're actually going to cover why I picked that one out there in a moment. Okay. But this is Maniac of New York. It is a slasher comic book. These are both the trade backs because I never got them in stores because they sold out every month they came out. and I gave up after issue 3. That I realized I couldn't buy it because people were buying it up too fast.
Yeah.
By Aftershock Comics. Aftershock makes some other good things like oh god, what is the one that they made that I read? It was about a superhero that was controlled by like a team, but they controlled one hero. But every time you went into the hero, like to control him, you lost some of your life.
Was this made in 2016 or is it just based in 2016?
I believe this was made in 2016.
Okay.
If I'm trying to remember, I'm not too sure. Yeah. I know I tried to jump on with this one, Maniac of New York. The Bronx is what is it? Mm-hmm. The Bronx is burning. I was trying to jump in at that point, but I couldn't in time. But this one's cool because
2021.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, the big fight in this one happens at Yankee Stadium, which is pretty cool. But yeah, they're just, again, cool art, and I love slasher movies, and it's literally just Jason Voorhees in New York.
In New York.
Yeah, but with modern day technology.
Is he like super strong, or is he just a dude in a mask?
So the mask is implied, and it's spoiler alert. I'm gonna spoil this if you guys don't mind. Do you mind if I spoil this?
Nah, there you go.
At the end of this, I believe it's this one here. There is a report that a ancient mask has been stolen from a museum, mm-hmm. and when they look at it, it is the mask without the eyes cut into it. So it's some ancient being that's like controlling him and keeping him alive. Like the only thing he's scared of is fire. That's the only way you could beat him.
Straight up, Jason.
Yeah, that's it. But like he can get hit. Oh, and for some reason, there's a certain point in New York. I think it's between there's like a certain 10 blocks he mm-hmm. does not go to. And there's one scene where he's murdering people on the train, and the train says, and the next stop, so-and-so Avenue, and he stops, like he freezes in frame. And then like 10 blocks later says, your next stop, and he moves again. So there's something that happens in between there that we are not privy to or given the information on. Even after number 2, we're not given that information yet. And good news, the third one is in production right now, and they're currently in issue 4 or 5 out right now. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Oh, here we go. The next station is 86th Street, and he just bails.
Yep. So there's something that happens in between those areas, and those areas are called the safe areas, and everyone's all the rich people are trying to move to it because he doesn't kill people there. So it's a known fact he doesn't kill there, but we don't know why. So it's an ever-growing story for the past 2 or 3 years.
Okay, so there's no ending right now. It's just
nope, even after number 2. So there's an ending to this portion. Oh, and this shows a cool, like, of where the murders happened.
Oh, so it's basically cool. Like the detectives board.
Yep. And you see, like, this whole area, like, here. Nothing's happening.
New Year's Day is when it started.
Yep. Cool book. It's a cool slasher thing. If you like horror movies, I highly recommend. Really, really cool book.
Check this out.
Definitely. And I got that at Newberry Comics on a sale. Buy one, get one, 50% off. But yeah, so that's what I had for my monthly reads. As of now, we'll get to this when we get to our final segment here. But Drew,
mm-hmm.
has there been a dream series that you've always wanted to collect?
Like something like we are like with the knowledge that we have now.
Yeah, or even when you were younger, like, oh, this is something I always wanted, and to this day you're still like, I don't have it, but even if it's just one book.
The easy answer is Superman's my favorite superhero of all time, so Action Comics, first appearance of Superman.
Yep.
I mean, ignore the fact that it's $1 million, literally.
Yeah, literally.
Literally $1 million book, but that's the main one. But like, I think it would have been cool to have like the first 10,
mm-hmm.
and to have those graded and high grades, like displayed on a wall or a glass case. That'd be neat.
By the way, shout out to Danhausen, who just got Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man's first appearance.
Oh yeah,
yeah, he got CM Punk bought it for him.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
C2,
it was graded. It was graded a 1.8, which is low, but who cares, man?
You have Spider-Man.
Yeah, come on now.
That's Fantastic Four one, right? Where they got him in the glass can.
Nope, this is the one where he's holding the dude in the arm.
Oh yes, that's
that
it.
one. That one. Yeah, like the first.
The one that they copy like a million
times. Yeah, but like the first, like that one. Which is pretty fucking cool.
That's the main one. I think I would love to go back and collect the first 10 Action Comics after Superman's first appearance.
Mm-hmm.
Next one would be, but if I were to do like an entire series, it's pretty much what you're doing, like the Uncanny X-Men or the 90s X-Men. Just that team, that's my favorite team. Keep in mind, they grew up in the 90s where like the 92 X-Men were like the shit. Like,
yeah.
That was it. Like, everybody was all about the X-Men. And then, if you weren't a fan of Wolverine, you were, get out of here, kid.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Oh,
you're either...
Yeah, who you like, Morph? Like,
Because obviously I wasn't born until
You weren't
97.
born yet. Yeah.
I
You
wasn't
were
born until
nothing.
97.
You were
But like I always hear like if you were either when you watch a show you were a Gambit or Wolverine fan. And
Yeah, that was it.
Like, that was it.
And if you were playing on the playground, you could be Gambit or Wolverine.
Yeah.
And that was it. Yeah, I always thought
Cyclops
Cyclops was pretty cool though.
Cyclops is too uptight though.
Yeah.
He was too much like a parent figure.
Yeah, the problem was everybody wanted to have the cool blades, and they never sold Cyclops' glasses.
Yep.
They still don't sell Cyclops' glasses accurately. Like you can buy the ones on Amazon that look like from X2, but they never sold the ones that go over your ears. There was a Halloween costume that had them one year, and I think you had it like in 2001 or 2. That it was the closest ones but it never sat on your head right. Like it would go around your ears, around your face, but it never like stayed. Like you had to like fucking hold it, or you had to like attach an elastic band to it. So that sucked. But then
if they can make the headpiece that goes around,
they did a Halloween costume where it was the full headpiece.
Yeah,
that it was like the what was it? Uncanny X-Men.
Like even the full top of head.
It was the 80s.
Oh, I mean like the 90s. Remember because he still had the blue like Gambit style.
Oh, like the
mask
elastic underneath.
Yeah, but it like
been
stops
cool.
here and like that'd be cool. So you can keep it together.
Yeah,
you know
that'd be easy.
And even if there was like a thing on the side of the visor, like flick it up if you want. If you don't want.
How about a visor that even lights up? Like they've sold like even they had like a 90s X-Men Fox Kids play visor that like kind of lit up, but it looked like shit.
Yeah.
I mean, now it looks like shit. Back then, it was just like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Because I remember the Wolverine claws that I had back then. It was like, if you look at it now, you're like, really? This was fun? Like, you didn't get it at the time, man. Those things, everybody wanted Wolverine claws. And they never sold them in a set. It was always just like one glove, one claw, like, and you press a button. It was huge and bulky. And it never
went in the
around.
Garage.
Yeah, and it never went around your full hand. It was just sat on top like a gauntlet.
And it had like the straps inside.
Yeah, and then you had to push them out manually. But it was cool for the time being. Now I can go on Amazon and get some claws like that. They're really part of my fucking hands. But oh man, but there's never been like a legit, unless you go through like some crazy cosplayer or Etsy store. Like there's no like retail cool visor.
Yeah.
And I mean, come on, Hasbro. Like,
come on now.
Yeah, you're releasing these cool little movie props and helmets and stuff like that. Like, let's start diving into some comic book stuff. I'm dropping games stuff all around here.
Ultimo fell.
But like, come on, there's like 100 years worth of history right now, like in Marvel and stuff. It's like you did the Captain America Shield Black Series comic book version. That was popular. Like, I see that shit everywhere. And then after that, like you just dove into movies, and that was it. So like they need to start getting into stuff like that. But I don't want to get too far off the topic. But yeah, that was 90s X-Men, like the full way through, like the first like 100 issues would be pretty cool. But an honorable mention would be Detective Comics.
Yeah,
just to have
that was gonna be my other recommendation. Yeah,
because man. Introduction of Batman, then you go into the introduction. Batman's the greatest rogues gallery of all time.
Yeah,
and nobody comes close. Like maybe the X-Men come close because their villains are just as cool as their heroes.
Mm-hmm.
But in Batman, it's like they're all icons. Like you say Two-Face, people know who you talk about. Like you say Joker, you can go anywhere in the world. Riddler, like
Mr. Freeze,
Catwoman, Mr. Freeze. Like somebody, if you even somebody who doesn't read comic books, you say that. Joker or Harley Quinn now is like, oh yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah.
Like,
by the way, real quick, did you see that clip they showed? Me and Justine kind of have an idea of maybe how they're going with this Joker movie. There is a scene, it's on TikTok, but it's Joker on the stairs and Lady Gaga's Harley Quinn on the stairs too, with him. But the cops are rushing him, but they don't rush her. And we're like, oh, what if Harley's like a figment of his imagination? What if Harley is like his idea of a woman?
Thing. I had the thought of maybe Joker is a hallucination of Harley.
Of her.
Yeah.
I could see that.
She loses her mind and she thinks that she's with him along for the ride and he's not.
I could see that.
He's dead or he's still locked up and she's just crazy now.
Yeah.
I think
she could be like one of the people that were in like in that riot.
I think that's going to be the swerve.
Yeah.
Because like how? Like, I don't know. I'm excited to see how they do it. Todd Phillips is pretty good when he starts thinking of off-the-wall shit, and I don't think you're getting Joaquin Phoenix back if it's not fun or an exciting script.
No.
He's not doing just anything. Like, it took him years to say yes to the Joker.
But for my dream series, you already mentioned it, is that 90s Jim Lee, Chris Claremont series that I am currently collecting. I think I have 1 through 30 right now.
Yeah.
which was kind of a bitch to do because there are some key issues, like the first appearance of Omega Red.
I was
That
gonna
was
say,
a big one.
Like you have the whole new the first 30 series, but just those 30 issues. I mean, the new Sabretooth.
I could stop there if I wanted because I mean, have the main thing.
First appearance of Omega Red, you have the new Sabretooth. I mean, first issue you have the new Magneto. You know.
With the mullet.
The whole set is like a beast.
And I have issue 15. I believe it's issue 15 with that iconic cover of them. It's the last Jim Lee cover where it's Wolverine front and center with the claw up like that. Jubilee with their hand on the chin. It's that iconic picture of the headshots of I think it's Cyclops,
Gambit. And Jubilee's blowing the bubble gun. Right?
Yeah, yup. And she has the glasses on, and Wolverine's standing there like that.
I have that T-shirt.
I have that issue. I have that issue. So I'm very happy to have those. And I'm actually what I'm doing. I'm not just collecting them to have them. I'm reading it through because why not? If I have them, I'm gonna read through them. So I'm currently I think on issue 5. I think right now. There's a lot to read. There's like 200 of these issues. So I'm trying.
Wow.
And Free Comic Book Day this year has that short box that you see there, the small one, the BCW one.
Yeah.
But it's the fucking Jim Lee cover.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Right when I start collecting, I'm like, thank God.
Yeah.
So I have something. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put them in that separate from my regular collection so they have their own spot. So I can just,
That'd be pretty neat.
I actually got some new dividers coming in for my box just to keep them protected a little more. So
yeah.
My goal is where you're sitting behind you, there's a bin.
Yeah.
My goal is to have a spinning rack so I can put these comics I have on the table here on display.
On a rack.
So it looks like you're at a comic shop.
Yeah.
That'd be cool to have.
Plastic.
Because these are just like miscellaneous covers I like in comics I think look cool.
Yeah, you just board and wrap them.
Yeah, I also found our dad's. I'm so mad. I found Spawn number 2 and 3, but not 1. And I'm like, motherfucker, where's number 1? Like that's the money issue.
Yeah,
but he has. I found like 2 and 3 and a bunch of other ones. But these are, and then like another like Spawn graphic novel.
Dark Claw.
Yeah, X-Men Teen Titans, Death of Superman.
I still have the Death of Superman at home with
Morbius number 1.
All the accessories are in there too.
So is this one. I rebought it because I know you had it and I wanted my own, so I rebought it.
Does it come with a trading card too?
Yep, comes with everything. So this was closed, but I was like, I'm fucking opening it because it's damaged anyway. So I was like, I'm opening this shit up. So it had everything under the poster, the armband, the card, everything. And then Morbius number 1 just because it was a cool little Morbius issue. Yeah, I have a bunch of other like miscellaneous ones. A lot of those are our dad's, so I put his what ifs there. Also, we talk about our dad. He's still alive. We're not talking. He's still with us.
He's literally
also,
upstairs right now.
Look at, found it in the mix. Hellblazer number 1,
aka John Constantine.
Yep. But yeah, all his what ifs are here. So a ton of cool stuff that he has that I want to like put on the rack.
Pretty cool knowing with that launched. Like, that character's so cool.
But I thought how cool would a spinning rack would be. Like you go to a comic book store, you always look through the spinning rack what they got there. If like the $1 books. So granted, these spinning racks are like $200, so it's something I have to get down the line. But I think it'd just be a cool display piece, especially since comics are basically besides figures now. Comics are like my main source of collecting. So yeah, man, just some cool stuff. But yeah, that'd be my dream series.
Spawn 3, Spawn 5.
Oh yeah, Spawn 3 and Spawn 5.
I remember having Spawn 1, and I remember buying it.
And there's 2.
Yeah, and I remember buying it with the figure.
Like, oh, maybe we got 2, 3, and 5. I'm like, where's 1 and 4? Like, we could have the first 5 issues, man. Like, where the hell is it?
I remember having it with the figure.
Like, damn.
And I remember,
and these are his first prints too.
If I would have known like what it was gonna be, never would have.
What I love too is I asked him. I was like, "Oh,
and it was pretty popular right when the book came out. Like it spawned like hit.
Pun intended.
Yeah,
like it spawned a big fan base.
Hit like hard, and then the movie came out, and the movie was pretty fucking cool for that time. And then nothing ever happened.
I forget.
With it.
So I read through. So every month, obviously, we do a Wizard segment, which we will do later. But Wizard is all about like, this is the book you need to get now. Buy it, buy it, buy it. And I'm like, man, like who bought these books? And I'm looking through our dad's stuff, and this is when like
he
when
bought those books.
when I was already born, so I know he wasn't buying comics as much as when he was a kid. And it's all like Cyberforce #1. Like all these Image
X-Men
comics,
2099.
Yeah, yes, and it's like all these Image comics #1. I'm like, these are all the ones in Wizard. They were like, buy this now. I'm like, he was reading Wizard and like, oh, this is where the money is. There's like a million X-Force with Cable on it.
Him
I'm
and
like,
Jason used to go into the comic book store and say, hey, what's hot or what's going on right now.
And they probably just go off that. You know what I mean? Because people forget, like even up to 2010, Wizard was pretty big. Like Wizard magazine was big.
I mean, people were going to their fan casting things deep into the 2000s.
Yep. So we were originally supposed to record this behind the curtain in March. So we were going to go through the March Wizard, but we're actually going through the April one a little later on, which is kind of on topic with what we're talking about today, which is our next topic, your top 3 artists of all time. This is hard, especially for us because we look at so many artists. I do have an honorable mention. I think you do too, because we have to sneak in. We have to break the rules a little bit and sneak in a fourth.
Yeah, fourth one.
Do you want me to go first and then you?
Yeah.
Okay. So, my number. I'll start my number 3. Granted, these aren't in a specific order.
Honorable mention.
Okay, my honorable mention is John Romita Jr.
Okay.
I no question. Daredevil, Spider-Man. Like
Kick-Ass.
Kick-Ass. He drew Superman, Batman.
Superman,
he makes some amazing art. It's so unique. Punisher Wars. I have Punisher
He's one of those
Warzone.
few guys. If you see it, I know exactly who drew this.
Yep. I have Punisher Warzone number 1 where he's shooting the guns, and it's just a straight up John Romita Jr. picture. He's my honorable mention, mostly for Kick-Ass because I'm at a loss for words every time I read that book.
I have an honorable mention.
Yes.
David Finch. He was a part of the husband and wife team, I believe, that did Wonder Woman, New 52. Just beautiful,
amazing,
beautiful work. I love his work.
Did he only work on Wonder Woman? Did he work on anything else?
A couple other.
I could have sworn he worked on doing Superman stuff too.
I know he did a couple covers.
Yeah, that's probably what I'm thinking of.
But I know him. Yeah, I think his wife's name is Mary. I think one of the two. But yeah, they did that, and I think that New 52 Wonder Woman is probably like the series is good, and then when that art jumps over him, I was like, oh, man, this is Wonder Woman finally.
Yeah,
it's cool.
It's such a strong image.
The only other better, I won't even say better. My most favorite Wonder Woman belongs to somebody who's actually on my top 3 list, so I'll hold that.
Okay. Yeah. By the way, speaking of Wonder Woman, they in the recent Superman number 2 I was reading, there's an ad for a new book she's in. And it has to do with the Flash, but it's just Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. It's all it is now. Yeah. Like the suit is straight out of the movie, but the Flash is comic book Flash. So I'm like, is that just her look now? Probably. That they're just I haven't read any recent Wonder Woman stuff, so that's all I could guess. My number 3 is one that was way before my time. Not only for the name value, but I think their art was iconic, and I think that it's something that I would love to see a series be drawn like him again, and it's Jack Kirby. The over-the-top anatomy, like the weird-looking angles, there's something about that draws me towards it, to the point I tried to recreate a Jack Kirby picture.
You can't.
And you can't.
Yeah.
It's so, you can look at it and be like, oh, Jack didn't draw this.
There's a couple guys that you can't. You can't.
Yeah, you can get close.
Jack
There's a lot
Kirby,
of guys who get close,
like
but
Neil Adams, like those guys, like when you see it, like like Romita is like, oh, I know exactly who drew that.
Yep.
You see Jack Kirby stuff or Neil Adams Batman.
Yeah.
Jack Kirby Spider-Man, like
And whether you love or hate him, Rob Liefeld, like you see his stuff.
Rob Liefeld
you
stuff.
see that tiny head, the big body, you know who it is. I mean, look, I got Youngblood figures on my wall. Like I love Liefeld.
Nobody trash talked Rob Liefeld until he put out that weird Captain America.
Yeah.
But like before that, like his Deadpool was like, yeah, that's Deadpool. There's a reason why people go to these conventions. They're like, hey, can you sketch Deadpool?
Cable, like come on now.
Yeah, Cable's the one that stuck around. Like like that big chest, little head, like that stuck around. Like that is still the design that they use to this day.
I have a Shatterstar figure up there that's literally like looks like every other Liefeld character, but it's probably one of those iconic looks.
I can probably get a guy into this Marvel universe. Yeah, he looks like a couple other almost the same head pieces like everybody else in my world.
But yeah, that's my number 3 is Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby, definitely.
All right, my number 3. I'm gonna try to keep it.
And granted, these change.
Yeah,
I feel like all the time. You always have.
I think we're gonna take different routes here. I think you're probably gonna go overall. I'm gonna go my favorite from like my era to now, and my number 3 is Michael Turner, who's no longer with us, but his Witchblade and Wonder Woman and his Batman and his Superman, like when I was growing up, opening the Trinity series and stuff like that, it's like, fuck, man, these Batman looks terrifying, like intimidating, like This guy, his Batman looks like he can drop Doomsday with a punch. Like, it's sick. And then we see his Superman. Like, his Superman looks like a monster. Like, oh yeah, that's Superman.
Yeah.
Like, you see the muscles, and then his Wonder Woman is just drop dead gorgeous. And then you see his Witchblade.
Supergirl.
Yeah, his Supergirl. His Supergirl is the look that stuck around forever.
Yep.
Like, everybody tries to copy that Supergirl look.
Yep.
Everybody. Until they changed it recently, but it's like, that Supergirl is the Supergirl. That issue of the Trinity book where Clark takes off his cape and Supergirl's holding the cape because she's like scared or whatever. She's just out of the jet. Like, that's classic. That's legendary. Like, that's stuck around forever. The Wonder Woman drawing, or where she's holding the lasso of truth she's kind of, the lasso of truth is the source of light, and it's like lighting half of her face, and she's in the dark. That's legendary.
Yeah.
There's a weird like almost like an angle shot where Superman's eyes are really dark, like glowing red, and he's getting ready to unleash hell on this army of Doomsdays from that same set. That Superman drawing has lasted forever. And then you have the Witchblade. You could barely walk into a comic book store.
It got a movie.
Yeah,
it wasn't good.
A series.
It wasn't good, but it got
TNT,
one.
Yeah, that's because it wasn't Witchblade. Like, you're like, okay, she has the sword on the gauntlet.
And who they cast as Witchblade, I was like,
she looked like Witchblade.
It looks like who he would
but
draw.
But then,
like,
you can't. Especially in the 90s, like, you can't be like, oh, we're going to do Witchblade, and then not do the Witchblade outfit. And then people are like, bah!
Yeah, she's in, like, black leather.
Yeah, but it's like, but then again, you
arm.
Can't make that Witchblade into a series or a TV show or a movie.
Nowadays, I think it would work on, like, Netflix or HBO Max
you'd
or
have
something.
You'd have to tweak the suit. Like, that costume is just not TV friendly, not actress friendly.
What I think you would like to see, it's in I think that long box there.
It had to be all CGI, like, the whole thing.
I have the first appearance of
Witchblade?
Because it wasn't in the Witchblade comic.
Yeah.
It's the first comic book appearance in like another. I think it's her and like Gen 13 all in like in one. It's a weird book, but it's Witchblade's first appearance in there, which is pretty fucking cool.
You can barely walk into any comic book store in the world without seeing that Witchblade. Like, whether it's a statue, a drawing, a poster, an issue of the comic book. Like, he's been gone for a while now, but his stuff is still like.
And I think
at a convention, you're gonna see posters of his stuff.
Last month we did this. The number one comic at the time of February 1998 was Witchblade, and number 3 was The Darkness, which is the other character he made with the long hair, the face mask. So, I think
Michael Turner.
I will try to find it and send you pictures. There's a wizard I bought recently. There is like, I think it's 3 or 4 pages highlighting the new artist, Michael Turner, but it's sketches
of his stuff.
From his stuff. And it's covers that we know and love.
And like,
but
growing up through the
pencils.
years, I've tried to like draw like versions of it. And it's like, no, I can't.
So that's why I love those, because like it shows you. It was I forgot her name, but she has the surfboard. So it shows that comic cover, but it's his sketches of just the circles for the body parts.
Yeah.
The detail, the final inking, and then the image. But like you can see how he put it together, and I'm like, how the fuck does he put this together? I don't.
One of the things
crazy.
I used to love it was Kevin Smith's Fat Man on Batman used to be similar to something like this, where they would talk about comic books and comic book artists, and he'd have other people. Like, it's a way different format right now than what it used to be, but still fun. Check it out. But he sat down. I forget who it was. I don't know if it was Bruce Timm or somebody from DC. It might have been Jim Lee or somebody. And they were like, man, Michael Turner just drew models. And then when when they talk about it, he goes, yeah, anybody who knew Michael would tell you, well, Michael looked like a model. Like, he looked like Superman. He walked around like, yeah, that was him. And he goes, oh, and the reason why he drew those women all beautiful is because that's all he knew. It's like there's all his girlfriends were just drop dead gorgeous.
They all look like
so like he would always just use these not random girls, but these girls that he knew as like, all right, I'm just gonna use her
source
look
material. Yeah, and it worked, man. It worked.
Like, yeah, this dude was just like stupid handsome.
So that's the thing. Like to this day, I struggle drawing women because I'm drawing a book where like there's women in it, and they don't look. Because I can draw Superman-like guys real well, and I don't know if it's because I'm a guy. I can draw guys way better. I don't know if that's a thing, but I just can't get women's features down.
It's hard.
All I have to go off of, because I'm like, if I'm going off of anything, I'm looking at Michael Turner stuff. So like my
Well, that's mainly
eyes,
because
I
you
try to
grow
draw
up-
them like him. Like I don't try to. I'm not stealing his art, but like obviously he's a reference for if you're drawing something, you got to go to the best. He's the best. So I'm gonna reference his stuff of okay, how does he draw the eyes? How does he do the face structure?
My list you're gonna see has a very similar tone where their male characters look really cool, and then the female characters also look really cool.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, like if I can get a statue of that,
Yeah.
that's what I'm gonna get a statue of.
Well, you were talking about for your number 3 was someone that was of your time that you loved. My number 2 is that, and it's someone you've heard me talk about numerous times. Ed McGuinness. Ed McGuinness was the artist for the Batman and Superman series. He did work on some Marvel stuff as recent as Heroes Reborn, which is basically Marvel parodying DC.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, they got fucking Ed McGuinness to draw their guys,
His
and
guys.
it's just him doing DC stuff again. He
He's-
draws.
I don't want to cut you off, but like he is similar to Michael, where like they were around that same time,
Yep.
where DC collectibles at the time, or DC was making figures. And listen, if it wasn't a Michael Turner figure, they were doing an Ed McGuinness figure.
I think. Oh, I used to have the Ed McGuinness Batman and Ed McGuinness Kyle Rayner Green Lantern. I used to have those on display, but I had to put them away.
His Justice League is like iconic,
amazing.
Yeah,
And
his Atom smash, like the Atom. Weird. I never liked that design of the Atom, but it's like when
The
you think of the
chrome.
Atom, when you
Yeah.
think of the Atom of that time, all I see is Ed McGuinness Atom.
Yeah. And I think they made a DC movie from one of his series where the art is the Ed McGuinness style. I forgot what it was. It was Batman and Superman something. But it's
Public Enemies.
Public Enemies,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
But
it was exactly that.
all the art is Ed McGuinness art, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this is so fucking
Yeah.
cool. But I love his art because we'd go to Borders back in the day, back when Borders
Yeah.
was a thing,
Borders
and
cool.
you'd get like it wasn't a comic, but you get like WWE magazine. Like I think you'd be bought that, and then my dad there'd have a spinning rack back when they had a spinning rack of comics, and he would buy me Batman and Superman stuff, which I still have, and I found them the other day.
And it'd always be like a bundle for like $5.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And it was always had a bunch of them in there. So, but to this day, he is still my favorite artist. And I actually, when I wanted to practice my inking, I inked pencils for an Ed McGuinness picture.
Yeah.
And it's still one of my favorite art pieces I've
It's
ever
sick.
inked.
Yeah, I saw it.
And I love it. So he's definitely like someone I would love to meet. That's a dream person to meet is Ed McGuinness.
My number 2, also pretty recent, but he's been around for a long time. Greg Capullo. Man,
Batman.
I remember opening up New 52 Batman, him and Snyder, that first issue, and I'm just like, man, this is cool. Like, this is cool. His art looks so cool, and he's one of those guys that I haven't even tried to do a Capullo kind of drawing or inspiration drawing. Like, it's just like, you can't. Like,
It's hard.
Like, I've tried to do Michael Turner's and stuff like that, but it's like you can't do.
I
Capullo's.
tried doing
like, there's
one.
something about his art style. It's just like, man, I don't know how he does this.
I
Like,
tried
it's
doing one
crazy.
recently, and it's tough, man.
It's
like,
hard.
His little details,
Yeah.
you mess up one line,
Oh
you
my
don't know.
God,
It doesn't
like-
look good.
When I love because I follow him, and then oh man, I forget her name. It's Ink Monkey. She's a DC inker. Like the way the two of them work together on a lot of stuff. And actually, can you hand me my phone? I want to make sure I get this right. I want to get her name right too, because when it comes to inking, she's like elite.
Inking is such an unsung part.
It's fucking satisfying. It's one of
Yeah.
those things like, people just sit there and watch cake being cut for like 6 hours.
Yeah.
Like, I can watch her ink like
And you even said it too. If you could
all
change,
day.
if you could change one thing in your life, you'd be an inker.
I'd be an inker. Yeah.
That's I wanted to practice that because I was like, man, I feel like a lot of people don't ink.
It's like
anymore.
I found that so late.
And since digital has happened, you don't really like a lot of people don't need inkers anymore. If they just do it digitally and knock it out, a lot of guys do that now. But-
Let's see.
We're just getting her name up here.
Yeah, I want to get this right.
Give her credit.
So Ink Monkey Hope, Sandra Hope. She actually inks for
Oh,
a lot of guys,
John Romita
including John Romita.
John Romita doing more Punisher again. I like that.
Yeah, she inks for John Romita, Jim Lee, like you name it, she's done it.
Mm-hmm.
Brett Booth, who's another monster. But like the way the two of them work together, Capullo could put just the smallest detail on somebody in the background of the characters that are the main focus of the thing, and she will pick it up and run with it, and maybe she'll tweak it a little bit, but it's like, man, like their art when they work together is so sick. But Greg Capullo's, like, not just the Batman series, but the first couple of Justice Leagues that he did as well with who was it? Jeff Johns.
Jeff Johns, yep.
Like, damn, dude. Like, I think was it? Yeah, no. Scott Snyder. It was him and Scott Snyder that did it. Jeff Johns did it with spoilers. My number one, which we'll get into later. But Capullo, he did Dark Metal, Batman, like volumes 1 through like 10 or 9 or whatever. I got them all. And when those guys dropped off, I kind of dropped off of the Batman titles. But man, the mixture of the story, Snyder's vision, and then Capullo getting it onto paper. I mean, the dude, he visually created the Court of Owls, which is like when you see the Court of Owls, it's a drawing, and it looks terrifying. Seeing those guys just all in one kind of mask, and it's almost, they might as well just be all, without being a cult, like, oh, we're dressed in cloaks and clothes and whatever. He made them all different, but they have that one mask that's just like terrifying. Yeah, it's not. It's like if you see somebody dressed at a Comic-Con, you see them just in that mask.
We saw people dressed like that.
Yeah, and it's not too scary when somebody's by themselves. But when we see 10 of them walking around, you're like, oh man, it is pretty nuts.
A little fucked up.
And then when you see the drawing, but it's like something about Greg Capullo's work that I don't know, man. I fell in love with it right on the first issue of Batman, and I've stuck with him the whole way ever since, man. It was. But then again, also he's been around forever. Yeah, but people, I
think people don't really, because I think he really kicked off. Like, obviously he's been around for years, and I think people forget that because I think since Court of Owls, he really
that was the
kicked
one.
off. Yeah, but there's stuff
know?
that I read and it's like art by Greg Capullo. I'm like, this is from like '98. I'm like, what the like? You don't realize how long he's been around for. It's crazy.
And he was one of those guys that I always saw him at the conventions, and then like Batman hits, and then like he's got a line of like 200 people, all the time.
and listen, my number one is going to be
always
impossible
next to
me.
Scott. Like,
yeah, always. But my number one, I don't think it'll be a big surprise to people. We talked about this person a lot on the first episode of this, and it also has to do with my collection. Jim Lee is my number one artist. He is the man who created my favorite Marvel hero, Gambit. Like, he is...
I don't want to cut you off, but Jim Lee's my number one as well.
So I was going to say that.
As I said,
you said
Jeff Johns and Jim Lee did Justice League for the first like 2 or 3
So when you said Capullo's number 2, I was like, fuck, who's his number 1?
Yeah, it's Jim Lee.
Jim Lee, yeah. Jim Lee's... for a second, when you said Capullo was your number 2, I was like, oh, I wonder if his first one's McFarlane.
No.
And then... When you said he worked with Jeff Johns, I was like, oh, I don't think McFarlane worked with Jeff Johns. Yeah. It was Jim Lee. Okay, Jim Lee, come on, man, like
Jim Lee.
Yeah,
like, if you grew up in the comic book, if you grew up loving comic books, at all after like 85 or whatever, 88, chances are you kind of love Jim Lee's artwork. Or
worked on everything.
Definitely own a couple.
Worked on everything from Marvel to Image to DC. He's been all around.
Yeah.
And
he's an Image founder.
Yep, an Image founder, and to this day. He streams on Twitch almost daily of him just drawing. Like one day he was like, "All right, I'm gonna do a 10-minute sketch," and he just draws Grifter, and I'm like, "How the fuck?" He draws like a square, and then out of nowhere it's Grifter with a gun, and I'm like, "How the hell does he do this?" Yeah. And he's drawing guns without reference pictures. And I'm like, "This is crazy." Granted, he's been drawing him for years, but and dude, one day I tuned in. I'm in Taco Bell online. I'm like, oh, Jim Lee's live. I just clicked it. He's drawing Flash on a sneaker.
Yeah,
I'm like,
one of my favorite things. I went to the Secret Stash in California, and like Kevin Smith asked Jim to come in for like an autograph signing or whatever, and then he draws Batman and Superman with Jay and Silent Bob, just on a red door, and it's so sick that Kevin Smith, when they closed down that stash, he cut the door off. Had it encased in glass and shipped to the Secret Stash in Jersey. So if you go to Jersey, they still have the door. And you can actually see it in like the last 2 or 3 seasons of Comic Book Men. You can see the red door, and it's the Jay and Silent Bob. And then like I think Jay's getting like the red laser through his head or whatever. But it's so sick, and it's Batman, Superman, and Jay and Silent Bob.
His Superman and Batman is like iconic, and I'm so happy we're getting figures of them finally because they're just so cool. He draws a perfect.
Todd McFarlane. You can tell it's like this is my boy. Like we've been friends for 30 years.
Yeah,
he's gonna get a couple figures made of his art, and that's the good thing about Todd McFarlane. Like maybe we can get into that another time about action figure toys,
Definitely,
or comic book toys and figures. But
he changed the game with that.
This dude is making Hot Toys style figures, like making figures look like they're artists, the way they visioned them, drew them, the way animators, like his animated series, Batman, Superman, Cyborg, all those
they're
guys,
right out.
like they're right off of the cartoons. Like whether it's Teen Titans Go or Justice League Unlimited or Batman the animated series. Like, man, like what were they waiting for? Like, why
Todd, where's my cartoon accurate Batman Beyond though?
Yeah,
we got like a realistic
the comic book version,
but I want the cartoon one, bro.
Yeah.
Come on, with the
ink.
alternate head.
I want a 2-pack with ink.
The alternate head too.
I want an ink 2-pack. We got an ink version of Batman Beyond, but it's like, come on, like, can we get an actual ink figure?
Right.
I got my complaints though, because he just won't make a lot of women figures.
Like a legit, just
he made a Donna Troy. Finally, he made a Donna Troy. Still waiting for my comic book accurate Wonder Woman though.
Yeah, honestly,
it's been like 2 years. It came out like 20. No, it's been 3 years now, and I'm still waiting for Wonder Woman. He's done different versions of her, but it's like I'm just looking for a basic Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Like, right out of the books. Like, it could be any Wonder Woman. I don't care if it's Michael Turner. I don't care if it's Greg Capullo. Wonder Woman.
I don't need winter Wonder Woman in like a snow coat.
Yeah.
I don't need that shit.
Bought it, but I don't need it.
I don't need mohawked Amazon Wonder Woman. Just give me
also bought it, but I didn't need it. But
yeah.
listen, I'll take what I can get. But yeah, but like
Amazing.
he put out these Jim Lee ones recently. The Hush series was like,
yeah,
like, they're so sick. And I don't care what anybody says. Nobody is touching Jim Lee's Psylocke.
Well, here I'm actually gonna grab something real quick.
No, on the move.
You know about this.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Oh God, caught up in my chair. Oh God.
Gabe's tangled.
Oh no, this is a mistake. There we go. So
Joker.
So I collect the Jim Lee trading cards.
Yeah.
This is just a book capturing every card, and it's such a great reference for like just the straight up PDFs of the images of the cards.
Yeah.
So one, I need it for my checkbook but like my checklist.
Yeah.
That I look through it.
Star.
But I have a majority of the 100-something cards, but yeah, dude, I'm collecting Jim Lee books. I'm collecting Jim Lee cards. That's another. Jim Lee is. I will wait however long it is in line to meet. I don't even need him to sign anything. I just want to meet Jim Lee. I just want to meet him. Like, he's amazing.
Yeah. Here she is right here. Like,
Psylocke.
I don't care what anybody says. Nobody is touching that 90s Psylocke. Like,
Oh, and another cool thing about his
drew her,
streams.
it was like,
In the streams, talking about her, people can send in pencils, and Jim Lee will ink your pencils for
that's
you.
pretty sick.
Dude, what? And he mails it back to you.
Hmm.
He just does it just for the content, just for shits and giggles.
Jim
and
Lee
someone
is one of
sent
those
him,
that I drew like versions of his characters.
and I love like these like interviews and like
Yeah.
documenting everything. But like, and it talks about all the other stuff he drew the art for, because a lot of it was unique art for these. Like all the cards that he made were not like other comic places. They'll take screen pictures from
No,
the
he just
comics.
drew 'em.
He was drawing these on the side.
Reference photos.
Yeah, so cool,
There it is. X-Men #1.
so cool.
X-Force also great. We
Yep.
have that.
We do we have like 4 issues of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so someone sent us as a Psylocke pencil, and he's drawing the Psylocke, and what he's doing, he doesn't just ink it.
Oh,
He
Sentinels.
also will
Mutant.
he'll talk on there of like how to draw these characters the right way. So he'll draw Psylocke. He goes, all right, the hips needs to be a little bit wider, and he'll fix it. And he'll be like, all right, these hands need to be a little bit sharper. And it's just like, it's a cool, like, you watch his streams just because it's Jim Lee drawing, but you also get a lesson out of it every time you watch.
On how he does it.
On how he gets his art done. And a lot of the art I, to this day, try to redraw is Jim Lee stuff. Like, Gambit covers. Like, I drew a picture of me and my girlfriend for Valentine's Day, and it's Gambit and Rogue kissing, and I redrew it as me and her, which I thought was a cool little nod.
One of my first, like, kind of redraws that I did was Superman. Jim Lee's Superman. Did a couple of them, but man, it's just
He's amazing.
iconic. He's the legend. Like, he's
Yeah.
the man.
And I will say, there's only one person that gets close to his art, and it's Andy Kubert, because he took over for him when he left X-Men, and the covers
tried to keep it close,
and they look unchanged. You would think they're Jim Lee art, but Kubert is another one that's up there, Andy Kubert Jr. So,
and
so
that's not sliding any of the legends like Neil Adams or,
like they're all great. And like I said, my list always changes. Like, but those are like the 3 I always go back to. Kirby is a recent one because I've been trying to get into his art mostly because it's so unique. But like Jim and McGinnis and Romita, they're always on my list no matter what. Capullo too, everyone, Liefeld, McFarlane. We love all artists. Like we love all kinds of art, but there's
like
there's some that we
I bought
towards.
Hush regular version, and then I went and bought Hush black and white just because it was like the sketch version of that. Why would I not buy this?
Well, this is a good segue into our final segment, which is our Wizard. We're going to look at Wizard here.
Wizard.
So I have this Local Man #1 that dropped, right? So I bought Local Man #1 because I was like, oh, dude, it's a parody of a Wizard cover.
Book.
Little do I know, I have the Wizard covered that they based it off of. Yeah. And it's actually the issue we're looking at today from, I think it's April 96?
95.
April 1995. We are going to, there is a thing in there that's on topic with what we're talking about here that I will get to. But this Local Man cover is just straight up the Gen 13 cover.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, but I forgot I owned the cover. So, and you want to know when I found that out? Today, when I was digging out that issue, I was like, holy shit, wait a minute, this is my Local Man. So I went to my other long box and I dove into my other long box and I pulled out my Local Man #1, the variant cover. So I thought that would have a cool one there. But I believe it's on page 140 or 144. It is talking about what we're talking about today. It is at the time of April.
Oh my God, the Mass comic book. I forgot.
Yeah. Of April, what did you say, 95, 96? Yeah, The Crow. There's some amazing art in this Wizard.
All right, what page again?
I think it's 194 or 190 or sorry, 144.
Oh man, acclaimed video games.
And it's talking about the top artist of that month. Here it is.
Oh, that's it right there.
And I thought it was on topic with what we were talking about. So you want to go through that list?
All right, I'm gonna start. Let's see, Wizards top 10.
Yes.
Hottest artist.
And this is what was popular at the time.
Andy Kubert.
Yep.
The X-Men.
Here we go. Yep. Right as I was talking about.
Adam Kubert, Wolverine.
Yep.
Next one is Willis? Oh, Willis Patricio, Wetworks, Jeff Smith.
Oh, okay.
Bone. Is that Bone? Oh, yeah, Bone. Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah.
I love Bone. Joe Quesada, Ash, Alex Ross. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Like, he's still working on stuff. He's making Fantastic Four right now.
I mean, Kingdom Come is in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Everything. Here he is, Greg Capullo.
Yep. And this is 96.
Angela, man.
That
was another thing. When Capullo was doing Angela for Image Comics, like, there's a reason why Marvel was like
didn't change her design.
Yeah, when the creator came over, they're like, yeah, we'll take her.
Like, you want to know what's funny? I'm retconning. So me and Drew collect 90s Marvel figures.
Yeah.
I retconned it and I bought a McFarlane Angela and I'm like, let's go with my Marvel figures.
Yeah.
She wasn't Marvel at the time, but she is now. She counts.
Stephen Platt, Prophet.
Yep.
Number 2, Frank Miller, who at the time had just released Sin City, The Big Fat Kill.
Mm-hmm.
And then number 1, Todd McFarlane, who had just released Spawn.
There we go. I just thought it was on topic. I think they have writers there also, right? Anybody of note?
Oh, yes. Chris Claremont.
Oh, yep. Still working on X-Men. He's currently making Extreme X-Men.
Yeah, he's a beast. Jeff Smith, who did Bones at the time. Let's see. John Byrne, who I know beat David. Neil Gaiman. I mean,
yeah. Neil Gaiman. I have I have a thing over there. It's how to write comics, and the whole thing is written by Neil Gaiman about how to write a good comic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I'm gonna look at anyone's information of how to write a comic book, it's gonna be Neil Gaiman.
I mean, watch Sandman if you want.
Yeah.
They're pretty close, and he's working with them. So.
Yep.
And Frank Miller is also on here. Mm-hmm. I mean, come on, the dude made some of the coolest stories of all. I mean, to this day, one of the coolest scenes is Batman versus the Mutant Leader in the mud.
Yep.
Frank Miller is the man.
And we're getting those figures.
I can't wait. Yeah.
But
slice and dice.
But that was the Wizard issue. I think it's what's the number of Wizard
Spud.
is this? Wizard 30. Wizard number 44.
44.
That's the one we're looking at. The one with Gen 13 on the cover. That is the highlight this month. Gen 13 is probably an underrated series. That's actually something I've been debating on collecting, was the Image run of Gen 13. Eventually went to Top Cow, and from Top Cow and went to Wildstorm, and then from Wildstorm and went to DC. So they had a lot of iterations of Gen 13, but I kind of want the Image iteration. Mostly because when buying these, all they fucking talk about is Gen 13 and how great it is.
Oh my god, Ultra Force.
Yup, Ultra Force. Oh my god. Pretty soon they'll be talking about Cyber Force on there.
Yeah.
In a couple years.
This is a blast from the past for me.
And I have an entire long box full of these.
Coming soon, True Lies.
But yeah, but that's it for Dive Into the Long Box issue number 2, Drew.
Yes, bud.
Thank you for coming on. We do this every month here on Patreon for $2, and we also do this, and you get your free one-shot every month. That is a mini micro episode of one topic quickly talked about, which you will be getting as well. Make sure to, again, follow us on Patreon, which you're probably already doing if you're listening to this. Follow us on Twitter at CFG Streams. You want to promote anything?
Nerd Bros Art.
Damn right.
Look for us soon. Coming to a convention near you, mainly Northeast, because we're mobile.
And finally, I'll be selling physical versions of The Hunt.
Physical versions of The Hunt. We got prints, posters. We're going to try to have whatever we can. I think our first convention is probably going to be Retro World in Hartford this summer. And it's not just going to be art. We're going to be selling. It's going to be like our own mini toy store.
Yep, figures.
Our own mini comic book shop. We're going to be selling Gabe's book. We're going to be selling figures. We're going to be selling original art, some games, and maybe some little trinkets and free stuff for kids, depending on what's going on there. But yeah, just Nerd Bros Art for any updates, news, new drawings. Yeah, that's the place to check it out.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you guys on the one shot. You all take care and stay safe.
Bring me back when we talk about toys. Spud.